beautiful Los Angeles, sunny California. It is an auspicious day for me personally, but and also I'm really sorry. I don't have my computer with me, so I'm not going to be able to take a look and see that we're on okay, but I'm just assuming that we are. Yeah, turn a year older today. Or shall I say I've reached uh, the end of a year. So we move into a new year for my life, and we take a look at our toldot with that we've been looking at this week. Yesterday we talked about when things go so wrong and you don't know if you can go on living. So today, I thought we'd look at the first scene between Jacob and Esau, where Esau comes in from the field and he's famished, and Jacob's cooking up a stew. And Esau's like, let me have some of that. I'm so hungry. And he's like, well, what would you give me? He's like, anything. What do you want? And he says, well, can you give me your birthright? Because Esau, being the older one by about 1 minute, gets both the birthright and the blessing as he moves forward in his life. And so here was Jacob saying, give me your birthright. I'll give you food. And it's a very similar line, actually, that Esau says. He says, I'm going to die if I don't eat. What good is my birthright to me if I'm going to die anyway? And he sells Jacob his birthright for a cup of soup. Maybe it was more than a cup, maybe a bowl. But, Esau gets lambasted by the rabbis about this. How could he have given this up? And I guess as I've been thinking about this today, thinking about what it would be, what could there possibly be where I would be so desperate that I'd be willing to sell my birthright? What state would I be in that I would kind of put aside things that I wanted in my life because I'm hungry or tired or cold or hot or whatever it is? It's interesting because I've been watching Squid Games, which is a very violent show, but the show really is about this. What would you do if you were desperate? Your back's up against the wall. What would you give up? How would you act? How would you act towards others? And, in this case with Esau, he's so hungry that he's willing to give up his birthright for just a little food. He's willing to have this kind of satisfaction now for something that would be a grand thing in his life. And it just got me to think about, what would I be like if my back's up against the wall? What would I be like if I truly felt that I was starving, or I truly felt that I was not going to be able to make it through whatever I'm doing? And what lengths would I go to? And I was trying to think, okay, how could we look at this from an everyday moment, right? I mean, hopefully you and I do not experience moments where we think if we're not going to get through whatever we're doing, then our life is going to be over. I hope that none of us ever are in a circumstance like that. But there are many times where we desire things, or we feel we have the right to something, or we want to experience something, and we're willing to either give up or to sell, or to put aside something that is important to us. And I guess I'm asking, is there anything that would be more important than, say, your birthright in your family, or the blessing you're about to receive from a parent? What is our priority? What are we willing to give up, or should we give up anything to be able to do something in the spur of the moment? So another way that we can approach looking at this is, how often do we, or do you, go for something that you think is important in the now, and so you give up something else that you had thought was important to you? How often do we take satisfaction of the moment, as opposed to clearly thinking through what might happen in the future and what's important to us. I don't think about that very much. Some of the things that I feel like I do in my life are completely planned, and other things are completely spontaneous. But does the spontaneous aspect of life, the things you want to do in the spur of the moment, the things that come into your mind, do those automatically trump, sorry about the use, those things that you may have planned on, those things that at one time were important to you? Do those go by the wayside because of something that you need now? And how much do you think about the now? Does it take over your mind? Do you get obsessed with something that's right in front of you and it puts on blinders for everything else? There's a lot of layers to this story, because on the one hand we think Esau's crazy for giving up his birthright, and yet on the other hand he felt like in that moment, at that time, that he had no choice, that he had to just do kind of what was in front of him, as opposed to thinking about the backlash or thinking about what would come because he was being short-sighted. When is it okay to be short-sighted? When is it better to think about the long run? What if we don't think we're going to get through something? It's kind of like the two people in a plane that's going down, and they tell each other they love each other, and then all of a sudden the plane doesn't crash, and there they are. In the spur of the moment, they told each other they loved each other, but was that really the case, or was it because they were just about to crash? That you might share something with someone because you're in that now, and you don't think that there's a future, instead of thinking about the future. And there is this balance between what we want now and what we want for our future, or what we want to plan, or what we see as our place in the world as we get older. And that sometimes there's a now factor and a wow factor to the now that makes us think, boy, I need this thing at this moment of my life. And I'm just putting everything else aside. I'm just going to throw everything out for this moment, this now. I think that part of what we try to do in our meditation is to curb the intensity of that desire, so that we can reflect on it and notice how badly we want something. If only Esau could have said, wow, I'm really hungry. Do I really believe that I'm not going to survive this? Have I ever been this hungry before? Yeah, maybe I should have eaten before I went out hunting. There's a lot of questions that could come into that. And when we reflect upon our lives and our meditation and in our mindfulness work, then what we're doing is we're just noticing how we're feeling about something. And if only Esau could have said, wow, I notice that I'm willing to give up my birthright for this. Am I really that hungry? Am I in that much pain that I want to give this up? It seemed like Esau was just like, hey, I'm going to die anyway, so of course, take it. As opposed to thinking, wow, my stomach really does feel empty. I feel like I'm going to die if I don't eat. But is that true? What will happen to me if I don't eat at this moment and I wait a half hour or an hour and I go get food somewhere else? But at that moment, there was that soup. At that moment, he was hungry. And at that moment, he was not reflective of what was happening in his life. So I guess the answer to many of the questions I've asked earlier today is this worth it? Is this something I really need? Is this pull just for now? Will I be able to be satisfied at this moment doing something similar to my desire, but it may be a little different, and I may have to be patient, and I may have to wait on it, so I don't have to give up something that's important to me? I think it's a pretty complicated question, actually, but one that deserves our attention, just in terms of when we have a spur of the moment that we feel we have to do. Perhaps we should just notice how badly we think we have to do it, and then make a determination as to whether that is something that's important enough to give up something that we had dreamed of or hoped for well into the future. So, with all of that in mind, let's go to our breathing. We're just concentrating on our breath for now. Perhaps those thoughts are going to come into our minds. Perhaps the things that we really want to do right afterwards come into our minds. Perhaps the stuff we need to get done comes into our minds. Notice it. Notice how important they might be, or that they may not be as important as we think they are. Let's get into a comfortable position. We're just concentrating on our breath, allowing everything to be just as it is for now. Just feel your breath going in and out, stomach filling with air, and then the air leaving. Pay attention to how deep your breaths are or how shallow they are, how you feel them in your body. As thoughts start to come into your head, just notice what the thoughts are about. That's what's on your mind right now. And then just with love, without judgment, just take yourself back to your breath. our last several minutes together. It's Wednesday. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous, light, filled with knowledge, shining, glowing. May I just feel luminous, bright. May I feel loved. Someone cares. Someone loves me or you. May I feel loved. It's always good on a birthday to have that one because I talked to my mom and people are sending me notes on Facebook. It's nice that people are thinking. Makes you feel loved. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. With each breath, offer yourself one of these. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous and loved. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. If you'd like to say this to someone that you care about, they can come up in front of you. You can offer to them. In your mind's eye, of course. May you feel luminous. May you feel loved. May you feel luminous and loved. May you feel luminous. May you feel loved. May you feel luminous and loved. And just bring it back to yourself, just for a couple of breaths. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. May I feel luminous. May I feel luminous. May I feel loved. And finally, just reach into our breath one last time. And just be. Just feel your breath. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you're able to find some peace and stillness. May you feel luminous. May you feel loved. And may you have a wonderful, fantastic day. I will say quickly, we won't be here tomorrow because I'm going to be at Parents' Weekend in my daughter's university, so I won't be able to get on. But maybe we'll try to run some other meditation from earlier in the year. I hope you have a great night, a fantastic weekend. Join us for Shabbat this Friday night. It's going to be very special.